Hey everyone, before we jump in today's movie review episode, just want to put a small disclaimer that there are some talks of sexual assault and rape in this episode, so if those things are a trigger for you, please just take care with this episode. So with that being said, we will jump into the movie reviews. So
it's like taking it a hot minute now, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. I need a new computer. But anyway, so yesterday, Saturday to be specific, before I came and met up with you guys, I went to the gas station after playing D&D, and the dude there asked me about like my hand tattoos, right? And so, like...
As they do.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm used to it. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And then he's like, yeah, I want to get a sleeve. And I was like, oh, cool. And I think I messed up the moment because, like, I think he was just telling me he just wants to get a sleeve done of tattoo. I didn't think I think he didn't really want my input. But I took it as that he wanted my input. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I ended up, like, wasting, like... almost 15 minutes talking to him about my sleeve on my arm. And I'm just like, oh yeah, man, like, just so you know when you go in, like, make sure you feel real positive about it. Don't have any regrets or anything. Like, just make sure you get what you want. And he's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, yeah.
I'm already there, dude.
And I took it as him being, like, super interested in what I'm talking about. And instead he's just like, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, and this one, like, because when you get your sleeve, man, what you want to do is, and the type of care you take care of it. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, and I totally like misread the entire situation. and the dude's just like, is like,
he's being polite.
Yeah, he's like, because it was like 1 a.m. so he's just like, I don't want to be talking about this at 1 a.m. And I kind of realized that after I walked away. And then I just realized that I should have just saved all of that info for, like, the podcast. And I just, like... and then I thought to myself, as I got in my car, though, Lauren always will make a joke. She's like, you're such a diva. And I joke with her. And I'm like, I'll sometimes joke about it and be like, yeah, I am. But really, I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I'm getting in the car and I'm like... I really am a diva. I saw a chance to talk about myself to some guy at 1 a.m. at a gas station, and I totally took it.
Yep.
And I don't even think the guy wanted me to talk about myself.
The guy was probably just sitting there like, oh my god. I had to ask. You're just going on about his tattoos, and then back of his head, he's probably like, you know what, fuck it, I don't even want the sleeve anymore. If this is the type of person I'm going to become, I don't want it.
If I become a total douchebag, then what's the point?
Where I'm just going to talk about my tattoos at 1 in the fucking morning, and that's all I talk about? No, I'm good. I think you just turned someone off from getting a sleeve.
And welcome back to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast. I'm Matt.
And Cody.
And today we're here to remind you that we support your right of freedom of speech, and we stand with you. Blizzard, you need to get your shit together.
I was like, who are you going to stab?
Blizzard, I'm looking at you guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That whole thing's stupid.
We stand by the choice to speak your mind and your opinion.
Yeah.
But just, we do encourage that when you speak your mind that you say great things about us. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's your choice. Freedom of will and all that jazz. But I'm just saying, putting a good word for us. But seriously, though, we stand by your right.
Yep. No, I totally agree. Go South Park.
Go South Park. That Pooh Bear looking motherfucker.
That would be the Pooh Bear looking motherfucker.
I'm not too concerned of them banning us in China.
Me neither.
Right now, I'm just I'm fine with where we get listened to right now. The fact that we're still being listened to in Canada and Australia, like, right on. I'm still terrified of visiting Australia, but
I want to go. I want to see all the things that could kill me.
Like, I'd be willing to go to visit for sure, but I don't know about live.
I wouldn't want to live there.
I mean, it looks really pretty.
It's too hot for me.
And nice. Yeah, I can't deal with the humidity at some point.
I like the cold.
I need a nice breeze. Basically,
if you live in Australia, you'll have to pay someone to just stand behind you and go,
look, we'll fully
breeze.
We fully admit we're pansies. Like, when it comes to Australia's type of weather, we're pansies. Straight up.
Any kind of heat, done. Fucking done for the day.
Humidity.
Yeah.
As soon as I get back sweat, I just lose my mind.
If I got out of the shower and dry off with a towel and I'm still soaking wet, there's something wrong there.
Man, all I just think about is like that, like when Gabriel Iglesias was starting out, like he made that talk about like how he's super self-conscious about how he smells.
Yeah.
And I completely relate to that. Like, I feel that on a deep level.
I stopped caring.
I just can't.
I work in 2 kitchens most of the time back to back, so it's like I have no time to fucking refresh myself sometimes.
Yeah, but I've worked with so many people that don't know basic hygiene that it's made me be more on top of mine, and it drives me crazy when I understand there's like I get it, like if you don't have the ability to do it, like if you don't have the accommodations, I get that, but like when you do, like, I'm just saying, like, shower, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just put on some deodorant.
Just clean yourself.
Take care of yourself. Show your personality and the way you want to look. You feel me? And if that personality is crusty and smelly, then, well, bravo, I guess.
That's nasty. You smell crusty today.
All I'm just saying is, like,
you smell crusty.
Take that extra 10 minutes, man, and just, like, really, like, take the time to, like, take care of yourself in the morning. Do small things. Love yourself. Do you. Boo.
Fair enough.
With that being said, talking about things, taking care of ourselves, we need a... before we jump in real quick to something we love, hey, want to give another big thanks out to Trisha from Two Girls on a Bench for coming on and talking with us on Monday about John Wayne Gacy. That was really
that was
really
a lot of
cool.
fun.
I'm really glad we brought her on because that was a dark topic. So I'm glad we got someone else in there to help keep the laughter going.
Yeah,
it was nice. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to Two Girls on a Bench podcast. They're hilarious and we love them. They talk about snacks and have writing prompts and
all the snacks in the world.
I still want my own avocado tree. Oh my god, I really hope they send us kazoos.
That'd be so
I really do hope they send us kazoos. That'd be awesome. I love the fact that she brought the kazoo on.
Yeah, we got it. We got it in the end there.
I got so excited. For us here on the Punk Rock Horror Podcast, it's the small things that matter.
Pretty much.
She brought a kazoo on and we're just like 2 easily entertained monkeys.
And it doesn't help that I was all drugged up.
Here's the kazoo.
Kazoo make noise.
With that being said, let's jump into something we love and hate. Mm-hmm. So this segment is, as it's called, something we love and hate. We talk about something that's happened in the past day, week, or month in the world around us, and we give our opinions about it. This can range from everything as small as the little petty things in life to something as big as political or religious, even though we do try to stay away from the religious topics. But anyways, do you want me to jump in, or do you want to jump in?
I can go.
You go then.
Something I hate has definitely just been like all the medical shit that I've had to deal with for the past few days. Fucking just, oh my god, man! Like I wasn't even able to walk like for the past 2 days. The pain in my back was just so terrible.
Yeah.
So that's just been super shitty, and having to be in and out of the hospital, especially not knowing if I still have medical or not. So that's been super shitty.
I mean, it's good that we found out, though, it wasn't like something serious.
Yeah, I'm glad it was. Yeah, thankfully they just pretty much gave me a bunch of hardcore medication. We're like, all right, if this doesn't do it, then you come back. Like, this is the top of line shit. So, yay.
Yeah, I don't know what else we can do from here.
Yeah, basically, like they're like, well, just come back in and we'll go from there if this medication doesn't work. Thankfully, it's been working.
Nice.
And it's something I love. I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or not, but just Dev's parents have been so awesome.
I don't think
these past few days. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if I said it on the podcast.
I think you might have mentioned it I feel like you mentioned it slightly on Monday, but I can't remember.
Maybe I can't remember. Either way, they've been awesome. Potentially, like I said on Monday's episode, they helped take me to the hospital again when like I couldn't walk, and they're helping me walk, like hold me up so I can just like step to the car and shit like that. And it was just really, really great that they were helping me out, and they stayed with me at the hospital for as long as they could, and hanging out and just trying to help me feel better. So
nice.
Yeah, just nice people. That's what I love.
I love that, man, because like I always, when it comes to like, they're not in-laws, but what, like I don't know, like what just a good word to group them in as, but besides Dev's parents.
Yeah, I know.
But like either way, like man, like me and you have been with enough women in the past where their parents have always been kind of point of contention here and there. And so it's nice when you actually like have like your significant other's parents love the shit out of you and will like go out of their way for you. Like I feel that, man.
So yeah, that was awesome.
Mine stood by me when I had a person tell me to go to hell. Yours stood by you when your back wanted to go to hell.
So, yeah, when I wanted to die. Like fucking basically, man, like all weekend I was just sitting there like, just fucking kill me already. Like, god damn, man. Just put me out of my misery.
It's just, oh my god, the pain.
I'm done with it. Like, Jesus.
Well, you made it through.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Not yet.
Yet.
Next year.
Again, yeah, we'll see next year.
Well, I need a new co-host.
Well, he did it. He finally croaked.
His back opened up and a monster came out and ate him and then absorbed into the abyssal dimension of Quadrant 5A.
As long as it's not 5B, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, everyone hates 5B.
Yeah, fuck 5B.
5B got bad reviews. 1 out of 5 stars will not dissipate into this dimension.
But 5A, 100%. You'll get it.
5A all the time.
60% of the time works every time.
5 out of 5 stars. Well, succumb to these dimensional overlords.
Yeah. 5A knows what it is. That's all that we were saying. 5B, get your shits together. All right.
Get that shit together, yo. All right. So for me, the thing I hate this week, and I'm going to end on the thing I love as well. But the thing I hate this week is, I remember like way back when we talked about like Silent Hill and we reviewed the movie Silent Hill.
Yeah.
How we were wanting more Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
And we brought it up a few times here and there, and like recently, and I showed you this, Konami decided that they're going to come out with another Silent Hill property, game, I should say, and I'm going to use that term really loosely, and the Silent Hill game that they're coming out with, keep it in mind, like, we haven't had one for a long time. I don't even feel like we had one on this gen, and if we did, it was like years ago. And it did not come out to good reviews.
I don't think so.
I feel like we did. Either way, though. But like with the fact that we were even going to get like Silent Hills, and that was once going to be a thing, but because Konami fucked shit up with fucking Shigeru Miyamoto and everything in that realm, it was just a real bummer, right?
Yeah.
And so we finally think we're going to get like a cool Silent Hill game, and come to find out it's actually a slot machine. So it's a Silent Hill themed slot machine. Like, talk about like way to like shit on your fan base.
Yeah, man. Like, that's just as bad as the fucking loot box system and stuff. Like, oh, get ready for your favorite franchise to come back as gambling.
Well, you know what's so frustrating is that Capcom has come back hard with Resident Evil, starting with Resident Evil 7, and then the VR adaptation, and then Resident Evil 2. Yeah, and then there's a lot of rumors about Resident Evil 3 getting a remaster. There's nothing confirmed yet, so that's why I'm just keeping it
at this point. Like, it's fucking mine as well, man. Like, yeah, Jesus.
But still, like they're all coming out to rave reviews, and then Silent Hill was like the competitor back in the day, and we look at Konami, and it's just like, oh, here's a slot machine, because that's what everyone wants.
I know.
And like, can you imagine like how cool it would be if we had like Silent Hill 2 as a remake, just like Resident Evil 2?
Yep.
That'd be the fucking shit, dude. But instead, we're getting a slot machine, and it just makes me really upset because there is no game that is like Silent Hill. There's a lot of ones that will take influence from that game, but there is nothing just like Silent Hill, and it just bums me out, man.
Yeah.
Like even a small VR adventure would be awesome, just to like walk through the world of Silent Hill. It'd be terrifying, but it'd be awesome. So. But so I mean, yeah, man, like it's just like that bums the shit out of me with Silent Hill. I mean, it's rough. But
well, I mean, it's not even just Silent Hill, man. It's like fucking there's Metal Gear, like everything Konami.
Well, we even talked about we even mentioned that like the producer from like Fatal Frames wanted to bring more J horror, and it's just like Silent Hill would be a great welcome addition for J horror on gaming devices.
Yeah,
and it's
that would
just
be
in
great.
consoles and with the PlayStation 5 set for release next holiday season. I mean, it just bums me out, man. Like I'm worried that Silent Hill is gonna fade away, and that really kind of breaks my heart because it's such a unique title in itself and such a unique horror.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see because there's also some buzz that Dino Crisis might get a remaster, so we'll see, man.
I would be so happy.
Oh, so many people would.
So happy.
Me too, especially if they did it again in the vein of like Resident Evil 2 type of remake.
Oh yeah.
But with that being said, the thing I love this week, so it requires a little bit of context. So my daughter has finally kind of gotten that McCord gene where she's very like open and honest about her thoughts, but she's also very sarcastic. But
so cute.
It's a trait that you get, but you have to train really well. I've trained myself over the years to make it a nice addition to my witty humor enough so that I can co-host a podcast with you and be somewhat at least funny on it and tongue in cheek here and there. But untamed, you come off as a real dick. And so my daughter, because she's still 5, she hasn't really trained that sarcastic, forward thinking and talking. Made a girl cry in her class recently. So like it is, I know it's like why I'm like, oh, I get you're saying like, oh Matt, so you love the fact that your girl made another little girl cry. No, that's not it. Like I'll get
that
to
is
it.
Exactly
This
it.
is to tear down everyone.
Yeah, everyone, bring him down to your level.
In order to rise up, you need to step on everyone. So what happened is that, paint the picture. So there's this little girl in Aaron's class who, she's a kindergartner as well, and she probably, is at the point where she's finally writing her name. She knows how to spell her own name. She's getting the alphabet and counting down, and it's, she's 5. She's still innocent. The world is new to her. And one day she's working on this puzzle in class, and it's not like the most complicated puzzle in the world, but it's complicated enough for a 5-year-old in kindergarten. But this little girl is struggling to solve this puzzle, but she's trying her absolute hardest in the most adorable way possible, right? Mm-hmm. Well, my daughter sees this, and she goes up to her, and you would think my daughter's going up to give her some words of encouragement, like
No.
oh, like, do you want some help, or like, oh, you got this, or like, you can figure it out. No, instead she goes up to this little girl that is struggling with this puzzle, sees that she's struggling, and the most comforting words that my daughter could say to this little girl to help her in her trialing time trying to solve this puzzle is, "You're not that smart." And just like the girl breaks down, starts crying, and like my daughter got in trouble. Like she didn't realize what she did until like afterwards. And so like what I loved about it is that my daughter owned up to it. I mean, my Lauren talked to her and was like, "You can't do that." And I talked to her and I was like, next time when that happens, like, it's okay to be smarter than other people, but you cannot make people feel dumber than you. You don't do that. That's not okay. Next time if you see someone struggling, you offer them help. Don't say things like, "You're not smart." And so like she understood, and so she wrote like an apology card to the little girl. The next day gave it to the little girl, and from what I heard, she actually made a friendship with that girl that same day, giving her that apology note, and the two of them actually spent the day writing like notes to each other and like cards to each other.
Oh, nice.
Like, and so like now she has like a new best friend, and it was just really adorable. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, at least you owned up to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, and that's how it usually goes. First, you're gonna, and like, that's the McCord gene. You're gonna say some shit that's gonna piss someone off, and you're not gonna mean it, and then you're gonna have to apologize, and you're gonna get really good at your apologies. And so, at least she's getting good at that. But the fact that she was just like, you're not smart. Like, if they actually continue their friendship throughout the years, it's gonna be really funny and be like, oh my god, why you guys are so close to each other? How do you guys meet? Oh, well, she called me dumb.
She basically called me a stupid piece of shit, and then said sorry.
But I just felt really bad for the little girl. Like you're not smart. Like, just a blatant, like, no, like, you know, sarcasm in her tone at all. Just, you're not smart.
That just reminds me of, like, when we first met. Like, except you didn't say it out loud, but I bet if you were going to say it out loud, you would probably looked at me like, we're going to fight at some point. And walk away. I'd be like, the shit, man. Like,
that's us McCords. We're either going to tell you you're stupid and then become your friend, or we're going to think we're going to get into a fight with you and become your friend. So, I mean, it's one or the other. You decide.
Yeah, basically.
So, I mean, that's yeah. So, I mean, I love my kid. It's just you're not smart.
It was funny.
It's like, God, way to lay it on thick, Aaron. All right. Well, with that being said, that's the things we love and hate. Reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know what you think. Do your kids do crazy stuff like that? Do they make other kids cry not meaning to? Is your back killing you? Let us know. Reach out to us on Twitter at officialprhp. With that being said, we're gonna jump into the movie review. So if you're new to the show, then sorry. If you're new to the show, what we do with our movie reviews is that we pick two movies that are related to our.
I'm the one on drugs.
We pick two movies that are related to our Monday theme, and we review them in order to make the case for them as to why you should watch them. So we obviously find movies that we feel that were horribly overlooked or underappreciated and just deserve a little more attention. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, there is not a lot of movies about John Wayne Gacy, but the ones we found are pretty solid, and we're going to be making the case for them. We'll tell you where you can find them, where you can watch them, and just give you a good review. So with that being said, I went first last time, so if you want to go ahead and jump into yours, buddy.
Alrighty. So, yeah, I had a hard time trying to find a movie, like, with Gacy that wasn't just, like... Okay, most serial killer movies are trash. Like, I'm going to go on a limb there and say that. Like, there's a good amount of them that are based on real serial killers are really bad.
I think there's a lot of good ones, but I think a lot of subpar ones maybe kind of, like, are the overlook, you know? Like, they're the ones that get in the way.
It's just, it was just really hard finding anything over a 2 stars.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. And, like, and when you think about it, honestly, it's probably because, like, making a movie based off of real serial killers, nothing's going to come close to the real story.
Well, and I think a lot of times, at least for these movies, the ones we did, I think these ones were, like...
They were pretty solid.
Good shock value type of material because of Gacy.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the films that were made about him were just to deliver on the shock value and not really deliver on the facts of you know,
on the facts and actually go behind the scenes of like the people in Gacy's life and stuff. But
so that's how we did our reviews. We basically we picked movies that really kind of like did talk about the facts and put Gacy in a brutal, honest light. I mean, obviously it's not actually Gacy, but
no, and honestly, it's still Hollywooded up, but they're still pretty solid. So like, I picked the 2003 film Gacy. It's directed by Clive Saunders. It was written by Clive Saunders for the story and screenplay. It stars Mark Holton, Adam Baldwin, and Tom Waldman. The synopsis is: model citizen, devoted father, loving husband, and serial killer John Wayne Gacy, a man with over 30 dead men and boys entombed in the crawl space underneath his family house, based on a true story.
Also, fun fact, if you do not know who Mark Holton is, to give you perspective, he's actually the bad guy in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the one that stole Pee-wee's bike. Stole Pee-wee's bike.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Not his bike. His bike!
First he's killing young men, and now he's stealing bikes.
That son of a bitch.
Where does it end?
You son of a bitch. But yeah, I enjoyed the film. Did you enjoy it? Because you watched it with me.
Yeah, I watched. I do. As comparative to the one I did, I do feel like it wasn't as like hard, it wasn't as brutal with its facts as the one that I did was. But to be fair, the one I did was also set in a different time in Gacy's life, where the one
different time in Gacy's life, and it was made 7 years later.
Yeah,
so there's a little bit more that they could do.
But I mean, for me, there's like some parts where Mark Holton's acting is not the best.
Yeah.
But overall, I do like it. I think it's a good kind of addition into the biography of Gacy.
I thought it was a pretty good true crime movie.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
This is definitely one I can see, and I mean this in a great compliment. I see this like on Investigation Discovery, like, and just like wanting to watch it. I know that's a really, really weird compliment to give, but that's the best way I can kind of put it. Like, it's not really over the top with the dark, subjects.
With the darkness,
because it shows them, but it's also like not over the top about it. But I mean,
and also it's not like it didn't even glorify Gacy, which I really liked. Because some of these movies that are based on true stories, like based off of real serial killers and stuff, they kind of romanticize the killer.
Yeah.
And in this one, they didn't, like, whatsoever.
Well, and sometimes
really
romanticizing the killer is also the perspective of
someone else.
Of the victim.
Oh, yeah.
Or
that's why me and Aaron, like, always go at it about fucking the shockingly vile, wickedly evil. I always forget the name of the whole thing, but the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie.
Yeah. Too long for a title of a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. But that's why me and her go at it, because she says it romanticizes Ted Bundy. I was like, but that's the point, because it's coming from his girlfriend at the time. Like, she romanticized him.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to believe everything that he was doing. But anyways, going back to Gacy, the movie did pretty well, I think, balancing like his good side and the evil side of him, like showing how he would lure the men and boys like to his house and in his car, and then just like slowly showing like what he did to them. Like, it didn't really show too much, but it showed choking him out.
I would say like good
him.
side very loosely.
Yeah,
because this was at the point when this one was made. Like, this movie was like depicting his life after his first convicted crime with rising.
It was already after. Yeah, it was everything in Chicago.
It was during his second marriage.
Yeah. This is it's during his life in Chicago, his second marriage, and building his construction company.
Yeah.
And like, it's already in the middle of that. Everyone's already knows that he only hires young men, boys.
Yeah, and everybody's like getting suspicious as to why does he do that, and everybody.
Yeah. So this is kind of like late into Gacy's crime spree.
Yeah, like it's already happening to where like people are complaining about the smell coming from underneath his house.
Yeah, it was, and it takes place when he decides to start putting concrete down there
and lime.
Yeah, and lime.
Is it lime or is it lye?
I think it's supposed to be lye, but he kept saying lime.
Yeah, he did say lime a lot.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I would say the opening credits were a little long in this movie. That's always going to be a con on our side.
Boo.
Because there was nothing going on. It was just black and white, so it
wasn't the longest.
No, but it still dragged a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job at portraying how abusive his father was. It was literally only one scene in the movie where it depicted his dad in the beginning, but it still was like, all right, now we know where he's coming from. Like, his dad was a piece of shit.
I mean, I kind of wish they did more flashbacks. Not that I'm saying like, oh yeah, I love seeing kids be bit.
No, like, I think I would agree, especially because some of his murders coincided with how his father beat him.
Yeah.
And so I think that would have actually probably helped it out a little bit more. It would have made things a little bit more clear. I mean, given this movie was made for people who already knew who John Wayne Gacy was.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I actually like about these serial killer movies is that they don't play at least the ones I've seen are trying not to play dumb by saying, "Oh, you don't have no idea who this guy is." They're already like going off of the assumption everyone who's Gacy or Bundy or Ed Gein is on all these movies. So I like that. I like that it pretty much assumes that the us audience members already know who he is.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's one thing that I did like without the flashbacks is that it's a smart movie. It knows that it's not expecting its audience to be dumb. So I think that gives it a really big +1 in the pro category for me. It shows how everyone loved Gacy, like in his neighborhood and stuff, and everyone around town were like, "Oh, hey, John, oh, good to see you, John."
Yeah. Like it shows his very charismatic, charming nature.
Yep, and to save face, like in front of everyone, he was like very happy and like, yeah, like that's great, man, good for you.
Yeah,
like, you do you, boo boo. You do. Hey, I have some vodka in my car.
Yeah. But no, that's like a legit thing because like when he goes and to meet his friend at the hardware store, I believe it is. I think it's the hardware store or the junkyard.
Junkyard.
Yeah, he goes to see his friend and he's just like, "Hey, you son of a bitch! I recognize that fat ass anywhere."
Oh yeah, and he was just playing with.
And
the guy.
like the dude just happens to have like tequila or like whiskey in a toilet.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I couldn't help but critique that moment and be like, what if like. Just
come on.
Why? Like, it's probably clean. It's got to be clean.
Yeah.
But like,
alcohol kills germs, right?
But even during that scene, like he's just like talking to the dude, like he's just his best friend. I mean, they are friends. But he's just like, "I expect to see you at my 4th of July bash."
Yeah, and then the guy was even like, "Hey, I'll check out your crawl space right now. Let's go." And Gacy's like, "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So, I got a bike to steal. So I'm busy today. I'm a little hungry, if you know what I'm saying."
But he was eyeing like the guy that worked for his friend too.
The young kid.
Yeah, the young kid, and like they were like eyeing each other and like sizing each other up, checking them out and whatnot. And so, anyways, though. So
yeah, and like just to go off of that, like that's one of my pros is that I love how crazy manipulative he was.
Yeah.
Like in how they portrayed that. It was just great because the entire time, we're sitting here like, don't fucking talk to that fat pig motherfucker. And like, but we don't know. Like they don't know at the time.
They don't know he's a monster.
Yeah, I'm like,
even though I feel like you could assume that he's a monster after hearing that he like sodomized a kid, but I mean,
I know. Well, it's not like he goes around telling everybody that.
Yeah, but I feel like they would have found out eventually. Because,
I don't know, man.
Well, you got to think about it, dude. Well, I mean, maybe
time
you're
period.
Right. Well, because I guess like he was also high up in the JCs.
Yeah, the JCs, the Democratic Party.
So maybe they did kind of like not mention it, like, and they kind of just like. Brushed it under the rug kind of deal.
Pretty much. Just like how our politicians are pedophiles and everyone goes like, "Aha! Shots fired! I had to get one in."
What are you talking about, Cody? That never happened. Are you telling me there was a plane where they like did things with kids that they shouldn't have and they're monsters for it?
Yeah, and the guy who owned the island's dead now.
Are you telling me those people should die in terrible, horrific ways?
No.
That's nonsense. Terrible people aren't real.
Yeah, pedophiles don't need to die, apparently.
By the way, pedophiles are monsters.
Yeah, they're monsters. They're the worst human beings on this goddamn planet.
So.
Anyway, and we're going to be talking about another one. So,
just in case if you didn't know what side we were on.
Pretty much. And they did a really good job at making Gacy like really creepy. That's what it was just because
he's very unnerving.
Because us knowing who he is and watching the movie, like we're all me and you were like sitting there like, that's fucking no. Yeah, no.
You can see the sinister agenda in his eyes.
And yet, but the people playing his victims, like they're like, "Oh, cool, fat guy with a drink."
Yeah.
He's funny. He's great. He's like my cool uncle. Like that's basically how he always portrayed himself. He's like, "Oh, he's the cool uncle that'll let you have a party at his house." Like that's how he got these kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I said, knowing who he was, it was super uncomfortable the entire movie whenever someone praised him, saying he was a great man, good guy, good job.
Especially when, like, he wanted to wrestle people. Like,
the
fact that they included that in the movie with him wrestling young boys.
Come on, let's wrestle.
Yeah, like, want to go wrestle? And that didn't help either. Like...
Pretty much. So, like, they did a good portrayal of Gacy. I will say that. I think like there are some of the cons I had is like I feel like they did go a little over the top with his portrayal of on both spectrums of him being a monster and also mostly of him being a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like it was really weird to see him like be arguing with one person, then literally within a split second he's looking at someone else and he's like, hey, let's go get a drink, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Like it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, no one noticed that in the movie. Like none of the characters noticed that. If he was like that in real life, no one was like, all right, that dude needs help. So he's going from screaming in that guy's face to, hey, let's go get a drink and jerk each other off.
I'm guessing like that was like during the 80s at the time. And so like it was back when we talked to Trisha about like no one just like kind of like piecing things together. You know, and like the cops kind of being, Chief Wiggums all around.
Pretty much, yeah, dude. Especially through this movie, there's so many Chief Wiggums. And then his confession kind of bugged me at the end. So when he was confessing to the dude was it over the phone? Sorry, my pain medication hit me pretty hard at the end.
I feel like it was over the phone, man.
Okay, so anyway, when he's confessing to Hal, the character Hal in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was his friend. His friend, he was confessing to his friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was wanted to lay who wanted to lay the concrete for him.
Duh.
Sorry, I was on hard medication when I was watching this movie, so I'm surprised I got this much
back pain.
So like I was wondering like why the fuck did he confess to the guy? Like I feel like there was no lead up to it, and then his buddy is like, he reacted exactly how I would react. How do you react when your best friend comes up to you and goes, yo, I killed 30 boys? What? Like, what? In a video game? No, I literally raped, murdered, and murdered 30 teenage boys.
Yeah.
And, Hal just kind of stood there, like...
in shock.
Really? Yeah. And so it's like, I liked his... Because, like, I could tell, like, some people were probably pissed off at his reaction, but how else do you react besides just standing there like,
Also, to be fair, to preface, this movie did actually fictionalize some of the actual names that happened in real life.
Yeah, some of the names, even some people. So, like, the guy who plays Tom in this movie, he's actually supposed to be two different boys who lived with Gacy.
Yeah.
He's the embodiment of two different ones.
Yeah.
And then...
So, if, like, some of these names don't, like, hit home with you, that's why.
Yeah. And then at the very end, like, when... I mean, it's not spoiler. Everyone knows Gacy got caught. Because that's true crime. So the dude who just walks into Gacy's house when Gacy's trying to kill Tom and just decks and knocks Gacy out.
Yeah.
Like, I was just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy when he sees Tom, who's tied up and being strangled, and he just fucking decks him too. Like, I was like, what the shit? And thankfully the cops are outside and Tom was able to get out before Gacy could wake up, and like that's how the movie ends, is with Gacy's arrest. But I was just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? You see the dude struggling and you can see that he's dying, so you hit him in the face? Alright. Do you, boo-boo, I guess.
Do you, boo-boo.
But overall, I enjoyed the movie. Like, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a decent portrayal of Gacy. The actor who played Gacy was fantastic. Like, he did a really, really good job. Especially when, you're playing a serial killer that raped and murdered boys.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, to be fair to Mark Holton, like, I can imagine that it'd be a really hard role to be in, because, I mean...
Especially to justify it.
Like, well, to, like, give example, like, so, like, in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American version...
Yeah.
Of it, or the so when they did it, there's a rape scene that happens in that movie, and the actor who does rape scene, like, he actually behind the scenes, like, he did not want to do it, and they actually, like, the actress even tried to, like, give him some confidence to do it, and afterwards he went back to his trailer and, like, would not come out for the rest of the day because he felt so awful just doing that scene. So kind of like bringing that mentality here, not saying Mark Holton is the same way, but I can see, like, why a lot of these scenes would be really hard to follow through with. Like,
especially strangulation scenes, like when he's strangling the kids and stuff. Yeah, those are rough.
Or like where he hits one of the kids over the head with the hammer and
just... that whole scene, man.
Yeah,
that something that bugs me about his real life story too, because that kind of happens.
Yeah.
I don't think with a hammer, but yeah, when he just decks this kid with a hammer, and he's about to hit him again, but the kid stops him, and then the fucking Gacy convinces him to still work for him. Like, he's like, hey, I'm sorry, and he takes him to the fucking Gacy takes the guy to the hospital and everything, and he's just like, I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened, I don't remember, it's my heart thing, I blacked out. Like, he comes up, he literally shoots at the kid, 10 different excuses.
Yeah.
And it works, and it's just fucking insane, even though,
dude,
he straight up just hits the dude with the hammer, and the kid watched it happen.
I quit.
Yeah, that would be my, I quit.
I don't even care if you don't pay me.
Nope, I'm done. I quit. I'm going to the cops, and I'm suing your ass. Those are the
that's
three
how I'm getting my
things.
payment.
This is what, if he hit me, and I still managed to stop him, these are the first things that are coming out of my mouth. I quit. I'm suing your ass. Where the cops?
Someone's getting an OSHA call.
Yeah, basically. Overall, I would say it's a decent movie to watch. If you want a little bit of Hollywood with your true crime, I would definitely say this is a good movie to watch.
Yeah, it definitely puts and this is again kind of. Bear with me with this terminology, but it kind of puts this Gacy in a more palatable type of movie.
Yeah,
because
I would assume.
at least compared it to the one that I did, because mine goes a lot more heavy in. Where yours did a really good job of balancing it a little bit better.
Yeah, because I think the reason why mine balanced Gacy a little bit better is mostly because he was free. At the point for this movie, he was in the mid crime spree, so he had his system, he had everything, so that's why it was I feel like it did a good job of showing that his not quote unquote not so dark side.
Yeah,
because he wasn't in jail during this one, so overall I would say give it a watch. If you want a decent telling of a Gacy true crime story during the murders, I would say give this movie a watch. It wasn't. It kept my attention for the most part. Again, mostly because I was on drugs, so I couldn't really pay attention as much as I would have liked to, and I was in and out of consciousness. But some fun trivia about it. The character of Tom Kovac is a composite of two actual youngsters that lived with John Wayne Gacy during his murder spree. The program that the family is watching on television in various scenes is the film Dahmer, which was also written by David Burke in the previous year. What are depicted as maggots in the film are actually mealworms, which do not feed dead animal life. And the pictures of clowns in the final sequences are supposed to suggest that they were images painted by John Wayne Gacy. Actually, they are copyrighted colotype reproductions of the work of Cindy Grossman, published in 1954.
And if you want to watch Gacy, you can. If you have an Amazon Prime account,
yep,
it is on there now. You can watch it for free via Amazon Prime. It is unfortunately not available on Hulu or Netflix, but it is on Prime. Mm-hmm. So check it out today.
Yeah, it's a good watch. And honestly, for 2003, it also the videography, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah,
I thought it was a pretty good looking movie.
I agree.
So. Yep. All right, Matt, your turn, sir.
My turn.
Hey, everyone. So, real quick, you're not going to hear Cody on the rest of this episode. As you kind of know, his back has been a bit injured recently, and so he's on some pain meds right now. He had to step out for the last half. So it's just going to be me that does my review and ends the show today. So I just want to give you a heads up about that. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into my review. My review I decided to do, which is definitely darker than Cody's movie, which is weird to say because it's all about Gacy and the whole thing is dark in general. But you'll see what I mean when I get into it. I decided to do Dear Mr. Gacy, which came out in 2010. It was directed by Stevenzor Ritzvisky, written by Kelly Madison and Clark Peterson, and stars William Forsythe, Jesse Moss, and Emma Lahana. Also, fun fact, Jesse Moss might be a very familiar face to a lot of horror fans out there. He was actually the antagonist in Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It blew us away when we saw it because we knew we recognized him and we had to think about it. But I thought that was really cool. So, yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, weirdly enough, I don't really have any cons for this movie. And it's really kind of hard to get cons for these types of movies because they're more of like not like a biography, but it's kind of like a docudrama in some sense too, because it's depicting some real life events. So it was just a little harder to do the cons, but we'll jump into it. So this movie starts up with us being introduced to Jesse Moss, and what we find out is that Jesse's actually a kid in college trying to get his criminology degree, and so he's really good in school. He has a girlfriend. He's a star kid in his family life, and his brother looks up to him. So he's like your all around American kid, basically, is what we're getting at, and so. Jesse is deciding, what he wants to do for his term paper, and on his term paper, he wants to actually interview Gacy. Now, back in the day, this is based off real events. So back then, this is when Gacy was near about the last 2 years, last year of his year and a half of being in prison before he got sentenced to death row, and so. No one's really talked to Gacy at this point, aside from the police. So for some college kid to just get an interview with him is kind of like a big deal, but it's also cautioned very heavily by his teacher, who is just like, you can do that, that's fine, but I always have a lot of people who do papers on serial killers, and so Jesse's character is just like, yeah, well, you haven't had mine, kind of thing. And so he lets him do it anyways. And so as Jesse's trying to get a hold of Mr. Gacy to interview him, what ends up happening is actually that he goes to meet the FBI. I think it's the guy who actually was the head of capturing Gacy. And so he talks to him, and the guy basically warns Jason, which is the character that Jesse plays, to be very careful. To that this isn't like a kid's game, basically, because he's talking to an actual psychotic person. And so with that being said, Jesse starts learning more about Gacy's life, and what I thought was a really cool pro is that it shows flashbacks of key moments in Gacy's life where as he was getting ready to to snap and kill, or doing the process of killing and hunting down victims, it shows these really cool flashbacks to add more of a depth to the character. And so keep in mind, when I'm saying like these things are cool, I'm not saying like it's cool seeing dramatizations of Gacy killing people. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just more so that it's nice that it's included in order to remind the viewer the type of monster we're dealing with, if that makes sense. And so, with that being said, it shows Gacy how what his actions he did to lead him to getting caught and arrested, so on and so forth. And then the movie goes on. Well, Jason has to figure out how to get Mr. Gacy to write back to him for his paper. So what happens is that at this point, Jason gets really smart about getting Gacy to write back by pretending to be one of his victims, what he would see as a victim, and also who Gacy is himself. So Jason pretends to be a closeted gay kid who is, who he says his father does not like him, calls him dumb all the time, and also is just filled with anger. And so he projects it through his writing in order to relate to Gacy, and Gacy like immediately recognizes this and recognizes it as himself, as a mirror of himself. And so instantly Gacy wants to write back to Jason. And so this is where the whole movie starts opening up, is just Jason and Gacy having these communications via writing and also phone call. So, what I thought was also a really cool, nice pro is, and we talked about this in the Monday episode, is that Gacy, while he was imprisoned and on death row, he actually did a lot of clown paintings, and they actually had those clown paintings in Gacy's cell, which is, again, played by William Forsythe. And it's really just cool because it's attention to detail. You know, it's being honest about who Gacy was, and making sure that there's no gray room for people to interpret him as like a misguided soul or anything like that. And so even when they put something small of like his paintings, which are a huge key into the psyche of Gacy, I just thought that was really nice. It was a cool thing that they paid attention to because it's something that they could have easily kept out of the movie, but the fact that they included it shows that they're really trying to really paint this in the most honest light possible. So, and with that being a factor as well, this keeps really true to all the key traits of Gacy, that including with his history of his father. So, not only does it talk a lot about Gacy's mother, but it also talks about, you know, the history with his dad too, and it talks about it early on as well. With, you know, with just kind of like his dad really coming down on him, and it even quotes William Forsythe quotes that his dad, you know, in this movie, Gacy in the movie, called him dumb and stupid, which was actually a huge thing in Gacy's life, which led to him having a lot of resentment towards his father, and and what just kind of motivated him to doing the horrible actions that he did way back then. So with that being said too, you know, it's just really good on its detail. Now, what I love about all this is that William Forsythe, I'm actually going to give credit to, does an amazing job at portraying the serial killer Gacy, and does a great job at doing this, just really projecting an uncomfortable atmosphere with the letters. I mean, you start seeing that there's these like small hints of intimacy that Gacy is attempting at with Jason's character, and so because of that, you know, it just goes into this really uncomfortable territory, because on one end you know that Jason is pretending to be someone he isn't, and with that he's playing a very dangerous game, one that if Gacy was not behind bars would be far more threatening, due to the fact that if Gacy found that out, Jason would be on the hot list of Gacy's victims next. And so there's this really just uncomfortable atmosphere the whole time, you know, and you see that Gacy starts to use his charm and his charisma to manipulate Jason to do what he wants for Gacy, you know, to have Gacy do what he wants. And so he's very, you know, abusive. He's very manipulative. One key moment that I want to point out is that there's a scene where Jason and Gacy are talking over the phone, because they eventually do get to the point where Gacy gets a hold of Jason's number and calls him, which was a really unsettling part, because at this point, you know, Jason asks Gacy, how did you get a hold of my number? And so Gacy's just like, he's like, I know a lot of people, I'm very high up, kind of speech. And just that alone, from somebody as psychotic as John Wayne Gacy behind prison bars, who can have that much pull just to get someone's number, was utterly, like, not okay. Like, that is, like, on one end that's super terrifying, but on the other end it's extremely creepy and uncomfortable, and I'm just, it was an uncomfortable scene all around. With that being said, though, I mean, you know, during one of these over the phone conversations, what ends up happening is that Gacy starts talking to Jason about Jason going into his brother's room to lay in bed with his brother and wrestle him in order to get his brother stimulated. And then he then suggests Jason to, at that point, once his brother's stimulated, to go down on his brother. And this whole conversation is just absolutely not okay. It is so uncomfortable. And again, like, I had to remind myself that during the scene it was purely acting. Like, it was William Forsythe and Jesse Moss acting, because it was done so well, and it was so just not okay and vulnerable feeling, and such violating conversation, that, like, you felt what Jason was going through. And
it was just such an unsettling scene. And I mean, if this is something that is a trigger for you, I strongly recommend skipping that scene because they go way into more detail than how I put it as. And it's just a really, it's just a good testament to the actors and the fact that they're taking the role seriously and that they're putting the hearts into it. And it's just, oh god, it was just a really incredible scene, and yeah, it's just a great kind of like example of how Gacy in this movie is getting his way with Jason and just being so manipulative. And with that being said, we get to see this really interesting dynamic between both of them, where it's like Jason's trying to pretend to be a lost, closeted gay teenager in order to fish out Gacy, while Gacy, on the other hand, is also constantly saying that he's always 2 steps ahead of his victims and knows what he's doing. And so you're kind of like in this back and forth between like who's actually taking advantage of who and who's manipulating who. Is Jason really the one in control, or is Gacy the one in control? And it just kind of like you're just kind of like spun for your world gets spun just seeing them talk. I mean, even while they're conversing, it's just insane. And then it gets to this point where like it starts to get healthy, where it looks like John really is in control of the relationship, because when Jason doesn't answer the phone, John just like loses his mind and like chews him out, and keep in mind, Jason has to lie about the fact that he has a girlfriend in this movie, being a constant stress for him. And so it's just like, you're always kind of like on pins and needles the entire time they talk, because you're like, what is Jason going to do to give away, that he's not who he says he is to Gacy? With that being said, we do see Gacy isolate Jason from his normal life. And it's just like, so unsettling, because when we talked about Gacy on Monday, we talked about a lot how he would torture his victims, and again how charismatic and charming he was, and the fact that he was still basically torturing Jason from a mental level and a verbal level just over the phone. It's just really disturbing, especially if like this is word for word based on what really did happen, because Jesse Moss, the character he's playing, is actually named Jason Moss, and Jason, the real life person, did come out with a book about his experience with this. And so and it's just kind of like, it's just so unsettling just how much control Gacy overhad a person's life from a prison cell. And with that, it just shows Gacy's manipulative and abusive nature with his relationship with Jason. I mean, so there's one point where eventually Jason does actually go see Gacy in person, but because it's not really said, but it's heavily hinted that basically, because Gacy has so much pull, he was able to make their meeting just Gacy and Jason. So because what happened is, prior to this, is that Jason was assured by the warden of the prison that Gacy's in, that there would always be a guard on site, that they had the highest security measures. And then when Jesse actually shows up there is no guard on site. They just kind of leave him in a room with Gacy, and that felt way too violating and vulnerable of a scene. And it was so just like another not okay kind of like, oh my god kind of moment. And with that being said, eventually Gacy tries to force himself on Jason, and so he does, bend Jason over the table in the meeting room and tries to sodomize him, basically. Jason does pull away from it, but during this whole time, Gacy's trying to feed him food. He's trying to get Jason to go down on him and just really kind of just have his way with him. And so the sexual assault is taking place, and Jason gets the upper hand and is getting ready to just kind of like what looks like he's going to end Gacy's life right then and there. And then the cops intervene, so on and so forth. And the fact that like the cops didn't do anything to begin with, which, like, I get it, like, yeah, Gacy had a high pull, like, I'm still gonna call him the Chief Wiggums from back then, because, like, Jesus Christ, this is an innocent person's life, like, Jason's relationship with his girlfriend the entire time is going down the drain, because he's so obsessed with Gacy. You know, and his girlfriend and his teacher and, you know, the FBI agent that he talked to are the only people that know that he's doing this. I mean, his parents and his brother aren't really aware of him doing this paper. Like, they know he's doing the paper on Gacy. They know he's interviewing him, but they don't know how deep it went. And his girlfriend's kind of in the same boat, but she definitely, you know, catches on to a lot of things that are happening that are changing Jason's mood in general. Well, what ended up happening is that unfortunately, you know, is that Gacy did eventually, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I was about to skip ahead to another point, but I wanted to point this out first. So what ended up happening is that, you know, Gacy, after that moment, keeps calling Jason, and just to show more of his manipulative nature, he's like, hey, I don't know why you're not talking to me, bud. Which, by the way, now I feel utterly creepy saying bud, because I say the word bud a lot, and this entire time, Gacy in the movie is just like, bud, hey, bud, it's okay, bud, and just like that coming out of Gacy, and I'm like, oh, God, I hope I don't sound like that. But so eventually, after that meeting, after that confrontation, Gacy's trying to have his way with Jason. Gacy's trying to get hold of Jason and be like, "Why aren't you talking to me?" You know, he's leaving voicemail saying, "Was it because of that little fight we had? That was nothing." You know, trying to play it small, trying to manipulate his emotions again. And then eventually, Jason does take the bait, and then immediately Gacy changes speeds once he gets him on the phone. He's like, "You little fucker," you know, "you little shit," and like starts really just reeling into him, and you're just like, "Oh my God, dude, hang up the phone." Well, what's good is eventually Gacy calls Jason again and he starts breaking down, telling him that he has like 6 days to live because he just got put on death row, and keeps asking Jason to come see him one more time because of that. And actually, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry, everyone. So he actually called Jason first, and that's why Jason ended up seeing Gacy in person, was because Jason found out that Gacy was on death row. So that's why he met him in person. And then after that, 2 days before his final execution, that's when he called Jason to try to be like, "Oh, it wasn't a big deal. You're overthinking it. You know, blah 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 blah. Whatever. The fact that I try to sexually assault you, that's not a big deal," kind of situation. Which obviously it is, and it's totally a big deal. But again, that's just how manipulative Gacy was. So at that point, Jason kind of gets his like final hurrah, his final revenge on Gacy by basically saying, he's like, "Yeah, well, guess what? I'm not who you think I am. I just used you as a project for my intern paper. I've been lying to you this entire time." He's like, and Jason's just like, I guess you're not as smart as you think you are," which like is just a complete and total utter burn towards Gacy, and you're just like, hell yeah, fuck that guy, kind of situation. And so, you know, eventually they hang up and Gacy's executed, and we're left to and this is technically a trivia fact, but it's also a spoiler, but I don't think it really needs to be a spoiler. But unfortunately, the real person of Jason Moss wrote the book The Last Victim, which is what this movie is based off of, and sadly the author did commit suicide in 2006. Other than that, the only other trivia fact about it is that it's based on a true story. Now, like I said, this is a really dark movie, and as compared to Cody's movie Gacy, it is definitely more dark in tone as well. And that one is too, but like I'm just comparing these two in general. This one is really dark. So if you are a fan of true crimes and you wanted a little more light shit on those final days of John Wayne Gacy and what it was like, this is a good movie for that. It does have a lot of interesting information, and I just think it's also kind of like a good one to watch in general. If you have been following Gacy for a long time, you kind of owe it to yourself, and I think it's the right thing to just kind of watch this movie. If you kind of get what I'm saying with that. But I mean, it's not a bad movie in any way. Is it like a straight up terrifying horror movie? No, I would definitely say it's more in like the vein of like Silence of the Lambs, how Anthony Hopkins was with his character. Kind of just a very unsettling, violating character, but different because that's a fictional character, and this is a real actor playing what once was a real person. and so you can find it on Amazon right now for, I think it's actually free. It's free on Amazon if you own Amazon Prime. Otherwise, I think it goes at about $3.99 for rental. So I definitely recommend you checking it out again on Amazon Prime. If you have a Prime membership, you can watch it for free right now. It's definitely, I'd definitely say it's a definite addition to any not just a horror fan, but also a true crime fan's catalog of movies in general. So yeah, I mean, and that's my movie review for Dear Mr. Gacy. So with that being said, thank you again, ghouls and gals, creeps and mutants, for tuning in and for hanging out. Sorry, I was trying not to cough. And for letting us talk to you about horror. If you want to consider supporting the show, please go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/punkrockhorrorpodcast, and for just $2 a month, you can help keep the lights on the show, and eventually we'll be able to start taking the show on tour to different states and to bring it to you live. With that being said, we're also going to be updating our Patreon for next year, because I know we talked about the mystery boxes here and there. As of now, it looks like it might be something that we start up in January, just because it's already nearing the end of the year, and we might not have time to get all the orders out in time, especially before the huge holiday rush happens. So just keep that in mind. With that being said as well, Ether's Oath is the clothing brand we're partnering with now. Our drop for our merch will be coming out November 30th. We will definitely let all of you know and update you, but a good way to stay updated about everything we're doing is to like us and follow us on Facebook at Punk Rock Horror Podcast, or on our Twitter at officialprhp, or on our Instagram, Punk Rock Horror Podcast, or you can follow me on Instagram at The Undead Matt. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please consider leaving us a review and let us know what you think of the show. Is there some high points that you want to give us credit for, or is there something that you want us to do a little bit better with, that we could be doing better with? Let us know. We read those reviews. We really do. So thank you again. And also, I want to give another thank you out to Trisha from Two Girls on a Bench podcast for coming on Monday. She was awesome. Again, her and Santa are awesome. They're sweet ladies, and they're just really, really cool. And so we're talking about working with them in the future next year. I'm not going to really spoil it because it's going to be awesome when it happens, but make sure you check them out. I feel like I think that's it. I think that's all I got for this episode. Thank you again, ghouls and gals and creeps and mutants, for listening to us, and we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about some more horror with you. All right, bye.